Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about the actual question here, question 1. And 1A says this: use the information in the table to discuss the cost efficiency of the cars. Use the information in the table to discuss the cost efficiency of the cars. Which car is most efficient? Well, we'll forget the electric car. Which of these 5 cars is most efficient? Remember, we're looking at this here, the fuel consumption in kilometres per litre. That's what tells us about the efficiency of the car. And we want the largest number possible for the most efficient car. So what we can say here is, out of all of these cars, the car that is most efficient is Z. Z is most efficient. Okay, we can say that. Why? Because it's got the highest it has the largest kilometre per litre value. Okay, that means it will go the furthest, it will travel the furthest with 1 litre of fuel. Okay, now we can do some calculations here as well to back this up. Okay, but basically this car has got a fuel consumption of 19.2 kilometres per litre. So for every litre of fuel it'll go 19.2 kilometres. That's the best of all of these cars. Now the least efficient car out of all of these is X. Okay, X is the least efficient with a fuel consumption of 16.1 kilometres per litre. Okay, it will go the shortest distance for every litre of fuel you put into it, so it's the least efficient. Now we can do some calculations here. Now we know that a litre of fuel costs 108.9 pence, and we know that car Z will go 19.2 kilometres per litre. So if we do the cost of 1 litre of fuel divided by the number of kilometres per litre, okay, then we will work out the cost per kilometre. Okay, now this is an equation that you won't be given in the exam, but you would just need to know this. Okay, so we're going to divide 108.9, that's the cost per litre. Okay, pence per litre. We're going to divide that by 19.2 kilometres per litre, and that's going to give us an answer of 5.67 pence per kilometre. So for every kilometre you travel in car Z, it's going to cost you 5.67 pence in terms of fuel. Now if you look at car X, okay, and do the same calculation here, 108.9 pence per litre is the cost of your fuel. Okay, and if you divide that by 16.1 kilometres per litre, that gives you an answer of 6.76 pence per kilometre. So this car X is costing you 6.76 pence for every kilometre you travel, and car Z costs you 5.67 pence for every kilometre you travel. That's a lot less. So this is more efficient, more cost efficient. It's costing you less per kilometre. And you could do the same calculation for each of the other cars, and you will see that this is the most expensive and this one is the least expensive per kilometre. So this car Z, is the most cost efficient. Okay, it's the most efficient in terms of its use of fuel, and because fuel costs money, this is the most cost efficient. So Z is the most cost efficient. Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about part B of this question, and we're told that car Y has a 50 litre fuel tank, okay, and we know that its fuel consumption is 18.5 kilometres per litre. Alright, and we're asked to work out its range. Now the range is the distance that the car will travel on a full tank of fuel, okay, so the range is going to be equal to, we know it travels 18.5 kilometres for every litre. If we've got 50 litres, to work out the distance that this will travel, we need to multiply the fuel consumption by the number of litres in the fuel tank, okay? So the range is going to be equal to the fuel consumption multiplied by the volume of the fuel that we have. So that's going to be equal to 18.5 multiplied by 50, and that gives you 925 kilometres. Okay, so that is the range of car Y. Okay, so here we're going to do now part C of our question. Okay, so we know that the electric car has a 24 kilowatt hour battery. So we know that it has a 24 kilowatt hour battery. And if you remember, that kilowatt hours is the amount of electrical energy that is stored, if you think back to the electricity topic. And we know that the car has a fuel consumption of 0.15 kilowatt hours per kilometre. Okay. So, knowing that, we can work out the range of this car. That's the first thing we're going to do, work out the range, and we're going to compare that then to car Y. So the range here is equal to the energy stored by the battery divided by the energy used per kilometre, okay? We've got a total of 24 kilowatt hours in our battery. That's the total electrical energy stored in the battery. And for every kilometre that we travel, it uses 0.15 kilowatt hours. So we need to know how many times 0.15 goes into 24 to work out the number of kilometres travelled with a fully charged battery. So we're going to do 24 divided by 0.15, and that gives us 160 kilometres. So that's the range of our car. Now, if you remember back to earlier, the range of car Y is 925 kilometres. Okay, so the electric car has a much lower range than car Y. So it's not as good in that sense. Okay, now the other thing we can say is this. Again, for part C, we know that the electric car will travel 160 kilometres on a fully charged battery. And we know that a full charge costs £3.50 because it tells us that here, or 350 pence. Now I know it says that if you charge it at home it's free. I know it says here if you charge it at a petrol station it's free, but we're going to forget about that. We're just going to consider about it being charged at home. So we know that it will go 160 kilometres, this car, and that will cost you 350 pence, okay, because that's the cost of a full charge. So we can now work out the cost per kilometre for this electric car, and the way you're going to do that is the cost of a charge divided by the range that the car will travel. So 350 pence divided by 160. It's costing us this much to go 160 kilometres. So by dividing the cost of a charge by the total number of kilometres travelled, we're able to work out the cost for 1 kilometre. Okay, and that's going to be 2.19 pence per kilometre. Now, if you do the same thing for car Y, the cost per kilometre, for car Y is equal to the cost per litre divided by the fuel consumption. And the cost per litre is 108.9 pence, and the fuel consumption for car Y is 18.5. So that gives us 5.89 pence per kilometre. Okay, so the conclusion to this question is this. Car Y will travel a lot further than the electric car, 925 kilometres compared to 160 kilometres, but car Y costs more to run per kilometre than the electric car. Okay, so car Y will go further than the electric car, but it costs more to run per kilometre. Okay, and you'd have to comment on both of those things in your conclusion.